All right. Hey guys, this one's for YouTube. All right. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Today, of course, I'm talking about Feng Shui for your office. Again, this is really a beginner series on learning Feng Shui, an easy way to just start with Feng Shui. So again, I have a lot of people ask me, I love advanced techniques. I love looking at things like flying stars, mapping the energy out, using the direction, and all of that stuff, looking at specific places for like your desk placement, your bed placement, and all that. But it's very individual to a home. And so just to start out, like it sometimes it is hard to advise somebody or to just give those tips online, because with classical feng shui, it really is about assessing each property individually and looking at, what you need. There's a lot of different factors to consider. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my screen share. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and do my screen share. Boop. Okay, boop. Now that y'all have seen all my secrets, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff. So feng shui for your office. Again, there's certain things you can do when you have not studied feng shui that I got ahead of myself. Hold on. Let's start at 1 here. Okay. There are certain things that, when you study feng shui, that you can start off doing. So again, feng shui, it can be very individual to the person, because we all have different energy. Our homes have different energy to them. And so when we're looking at feng shui, there's some very easy things you can do to just start off. And that's kind of what I'm going to be sharing today. So you might come to this and you might already have done some feng shui learning and you're like, this is very basic and simple. It is. It's going to be very basic and simple. Just looking at some feng shui desk placement. But first, I always forget this part, so I include it on my presentations. I'm Candice Berlanga. I'm a certified Feng Shui practitioner. I'm a red ribbon professional with the International Feng Shui Guild. I kind of mentioned earlier that I did some interviews with some other practitioners. One of the things that the tools I suppose I use is I pulled a lot of those feng shui practitioners from the International Feng Shui Guild, which has a dedicated website and a directory of different consultants you can look through. And so if you're looking more to have one done in your area, you want someone to come in and come to your home and actually do an assessment, you can look at that International Feng Shui Guild directory and find someone in your area, okay? And then their bios are there, so I know that you can find someone near or close to you to come do a consultation around you, because they have a big list of people. So International Feng Shui Guild, there's a little plug there. I'm a podcast host. I, of course, do the Learn Feng Shui podcast. So go and follow me on all social media platforms, Learn Feng Shui, fengshuibycandice.com. And another big announcement, I was excited to announce this, that the Learn Feng Shui podcast, I have been trying to get the domain name. And once I finally got the dang domain name, I had trouble hooking it up. And it's just me. I'm my own admin person. And so I hooked up the learnfengshui.com domain to the site. It's just a simple site, but it's more streamlined. It's more straightforward. And you can listen to the podcast right on the site. But you can listen to the podcast on all podcast platforms at Learn Feng Shui. All right. And so again, just looking at, if you're new to feng shui, you might have gone online and you're like, well, here it says that, I can divide my room up in these different sections. And you might have come across something that looks like this. And so this is just a different form of feng shui. I don't necessarily teach. Sometimes I teach some things off of this because people like more of this style. But the difference is that this is more of a westernized version of Feng Shui. So this version, it's like when you enter a room, everything's kind of set and fixed. And that's why a lot of people like it, because it's kind of a more touchy-feely version of Feng Shui, and it's a little bit easier to follow if you're new to Feng Shui. So start with the one that works for you, but this isn't what I'm going to teach today. I'm just going to talk about different ways to place our desk, what we should consider, what we shouldn't consider based on classical Feng Shui. They use a lot of imagery and colors and intention and design to enhance the space. So the difference is that Eastern and classical Feng Shui, which is what I do when I work with clients, it orients the energy map to the compass direction that your home faces. And from that, we're able to get an energy reading of your space. So Feng Shui is set according to your personal energy, also using your Chinese astrology chart. Some schools don't, I do. But this actually taps into the chi or energy of your natural environment, and that's according to your external features. Okay, everything comes from your external features. That's where the original Feng Shui came from. Oh, how do I go backwards? Okay. So your office or study area relates to your ability to study or work. So if you're working from home, you have a study area, your kids are studying, it's almost the same thing, okay? Why is your desk important? The areas we spend the most time in are the areas that have the most impact on us personally. So if you work from home, it's important you have a desk set in an area that's favorable to you and it's receiving good energy. Good chi flow or energy is received when you start with a good desk position for your space. And this is just known as Feng Shui forms, like where your bed is set. You hear that thing like you don't want to directly face the door, with too much energy coming on, you want a wall behind you, all that good stuff. We'll go over that. And that's just called Feng Shui forms. The reason forms are important in Feng Shui is because Feng Shui it's just part of that system called the 5 arts of Chinese metaphysics. So it's classified under the category called physiognomy. And this is the study of the shape or appearance of something. And so it really is the visual aspect. Feng Shui is the physiognomy of your environment. It's the study of the way your space is, your furniture is, your setup is, and that's physiognomy. So there's things that can cause what is called sha qi or distortion in the energy or qi. Oops, I was just put Q flow. Qi flow to your desk. Whenever I go through, I find like typos. I'm like, oh, it's my bad. Chi flow to your desk. So one of the things that can impact this is having a roof like this. They have these cool beams here, exposed beams. That can be a sha qi for your area. So one thing you want to do is just avoid placing your desk underneath a beam. It could cause that oppression of chi flow or energy flow, and you could feel like you have a hard time working. Maybe you feel like it can affect your headache. Maybe you have a neck problems. So number 2 is a desk under sloped ceilings. The sloped ceilings, again, it just causes an oppression of the chi flow over your head. So if possible, it would be better to put these in a different area if possible. And honestly, I would just avoid a space that was this tight right here, because it doesn't seem like maybe the productivity would be very high in a space like that. You want to avoid your desk positioned under a tight spot. So a lot of people try to make use of areas like this, maybe like under the stairs or something like that. Well, this is still oppressing the flow of energy over your space. And on top of that, there's traffic going up and down. And so there's this energy overhead, and then there's this oppression. So that's a no-no. That you might want to try to make space here. Again, this is under the stairs, but it's also in a closet, which doesn't have chi flow, and then your back would be too, exposed to the area there. Another example of under the stairs. Excuse me. Okay. Sorry, I don't have my mute button handy. Okay, so beams, oh, there my mute is, okay. So the beams overhead, the sloped ceilings, the desk position in a tight spot, or corners pointing directly at your workspace. And this can happen when you have a workspace that looks like this. I can't make it bigger. You know, say you have an oddly shaped office or room. See, you know, these oddly shaped spaces here. Well, you want to avoid a desk that has one of those corners pointing directly at you. See, there's a corner there. Just a space like this, you know, where it's not directly facing the door. You can see the door, but you have a nice space behind you that's supported by a wall. That's the most ideal placement. Oh, here we go. Usually caused by corners in irregular shaped rooms. Try to position your work or study desk away from these corners while maintaining a good form within your space. And so, like, I don't know why I put this here. I think just because, so it would be better off if you put it maybe like over here, you know, your desk would be here instead. You can move this desk over here instead, you know. Just look at the way your space is shaped and if there's weird corners. You can strategically place a plant to mask the corners if you have to use this sort of shaped room. So you just put a plant there. A nice large plant is good at redirecting energy, and so are those pop-up screens. So if you're limited in your space and you have to, you know, have something in your desk in a spot like this that's not really ideal, there's some different decorative things to kind of change the flow of the energy. Remember, it's the way your space is like shaped. So your desk should always be in a commanding position facing the door, but not directly. So you just don't want the door directly in front of your space, like in front of your desk. There's too much energy flow like coming in. Chi flow is supposed to be what is called sentimental. So it's like a soft flow of chi, and your space is supposed to act to gather and trap that energy flow. And so if your desk is directly facing the door, it's just too much energy coming directly in. And I think what I'm going to do, I don't know if anyone is asking questions on the live. If anybody does, I will. Someone said hello, hello. If you have any questions, you can type them in the Facebook Live and I'll go look. Okay, so facing the door, but not directly. Here we go. A desk should have a solid wall backing it to feel supported and to be facing and receiving the incoming energy. So, you know, it just makes more sense to put the chair here and work that way. So you don't want your back exposed when you're working. Try to avoid positioning your desk facing a wall. Okay, if your desk must be facing a window, be sure your view is spacious. So a window is not necessarily bad feng shui with a desk, because if it's facing a nice spacious open area, then it could act as a area to receive and gather the chi. But it's kind of a case-by-case study, so not always the case. Okay, so if your back's to a window, make sure your surrounding external environment is supportive. So if you look out and you see like a fence line, tall trees, mountains, or tall buildings, these kind of act as environmental support to you. And so here's a good example. You know, there's probably not another space in this area to put a desk. And so if you see there's like a tree line back here, that is a nice support to this office space right here where you have limited options. Okay, here's a nice example too. Now I wouldn't work on this side, but if you're working on this side and your back's to this window, you have this nice tree line, you still feel supported. Another option is to put a heavy drapes. I don't think I included that in here, but you can put some really heavy drapes right here and to cover the window. Here's a kind of an example of that. So another thing is you want to keep that work area clean, okay? So no cluttered desk. I like that picture. Okay, so decluttering is usually commonly associated with Feng Shui. Decluttering, it's one of those things that kind of gets lumped in with Feng Shui. Feng Shui is not the art of placement. It's not that art where, that, what's her name? Marie Kondo, where she goes and she's like, this makes me feel joy. That's not really Feng Shui. Again, Feng Shui is about the chi flow, the ability to gather and collect chi. Okay. So if you have, you can't even see the baby in that photo. I thought that was funny. Like, you can't even see that baby. And I don't know how I just made that bigger because it wouldn't work a minute ago. Okay. And when you have a bunch of stuff cluttering your space like this, you're not, there's the chi is not able to flow within the space. Okay. Same thing with your desk. I'm looking at my desk right now and I'm like, I should take my own advice because, yeah, my desk is a little cluttery. Okay. So clutter does not allow the flow of chi in the space. So just take a little bit of time before you start working. I actually share an office space with my daughter. The kids, they just have like a crafty area in the other like part of my office. And so I have to just come in and make sure it stays clean. I put some shelving in the other day to keep it organized. Bins and organizing things work. Okay. So if you have limited options, again, the privacy screens can redirect flow. This is one of the easiest ways to change some things within your space. And of course, one of the things I wanted to address is superstitions. I like to address this. Some people are like, you look online and you see that, they're like, you can put a globe here, or you can, use the child's brush, or different colors. You could place a pagoda for studying. And I don't subscribe to the superstitious beliefs, again, mostly because of the actual definition of Feng Shui, which is physiognomy. It's the appearance of your space. These have a very minimal impact. Remember, it's all about the chi flow. So like you might see, they say you can put a crystal over your desk to help with like, these overhead shelves, facing the wall, or you could possibly use a mirror there, but again, it doesn't really change the flow of chi. If you do have limited, space and you have to work up against a wall, not the end of the world, not perfect, but it's not the end of the world. Okay. So symbols like pagoda or brush on your desk are superstitious. It said if you place a pagoda here, like however many levels, represent like achievement, like there's a certain number of levels you can, I think these pointy things. So back in the day, I think where this comes from is back in the day, they used to use these pagodas, and they would store like the scrolls in there. The monks would be in there and they would be studying. And so it's most commonly associated with studying, but it does not, just placing one of these items on your desk isn't going to make you smarter. Like how? If it did, then we'd be all doing it, right? We'd all be genius level, Harvard graduates or whatever. Okay. So a bookshelf behind you does not create Shachi or attacking energy. I know sometimes, like I've heard it said that this is like the what is called the poison arrow or Shachi, these books, but honestly, no, you can place those books behind you. It's not creating a bad or attacking energy. Feel free with the bookshelf. Superstitious practices don't help to enhance study. I think one of the things was that you can put your kids a hairbrush because it has, they use it on their head. And you can put that hairbrush on a desk where the kids are studying or something, and it's supposed to make them retain the knowledge. No. Okay, so don't over worry about colors in your office. Now, color, unless it's I feel like a very large amount of color. Some schools of thought use color, some don't. I don't rely on the color, but you can definitely use colors to enhance your space. Just using like a Feng Shui color guide, but again, a very, very small amount of chi or energy comes from your colors. I feel like colors is almost like a last resort. You can't fix something. I think next month in my Feng Shui for kitchen, I do talk a little bit about using some colors when you can't fix the forms or change the forms of a space. But don't rely on the color. Rely more on your desk placement, that clutter around you. Keeping it clutter free, having a nice wall behind you, and having your desk in a good position, keeping it clutter free, all that stuff. Okay, so superstitious practices and items also do not help to enhance study or wealth. You hear, and so again, which I teach is classical feng shui, and from a classical feng shui perspective. Setting out items or like having like a what is called like a wealth corner, it's in classical feng shui is not the same for everybody. I've used bamboo to do an activation, but it's more about it's where you're putting it, and it has water with it, so not just bamboo. Okay, but putting out some of these items, they're not going to help with wealth. Let's see here. So everyone has their own personal energy. This is school of thought that in classical feng shui, personal energy can help make your feng shui most effective. So everyone has their own personal energy, and feng shui can be set according to your work goal. And this is one of the reasons classical feng shui doesn't have a fixed life area. So one of the things I want to point out here, like if you're studying, this person's intelligence is Shin, the monkey. And so one thing they could do is they can, study in the Southwest. So it'd be Southwest 3. Your directions can be broken up into 3 subsectors. So this is, if you're lost, don't worry about it. But the area of your home that's associated with the monkey can be used for your studying. Or if you have, like this month is the month of the monkey, you could enhance the area there and do some studying, and that would help. And so that's kind of how classical feng shui works. If you're talking career, we might look at the month you're born and look at some stuff to enhance this area, and so it just kind of depends. There's many different things we can do. We could set your desk in a good flying star position. There's a bunch of different things you could do to enhance the feng shui. But with classical feng shui, again, this is why we use like your natal chart and combine that with the areas of your home, because it can make it more effective. So if you have any questions, I'm going to check real quick and see. I just see the hello. Let me see all comments. Okay, well, I don't see any questions, but if you do have questions and you come to this video later on, I want you to go ahead and, ask me the questions. I will reply. Let's see here. I don't know why it says join me this Sunday. I think that, so I changed the time this week to see if it did a little bit better. I actually don't think it did, but I didn't do much pushing of the class this month, so I know I didn't have very many live. I don't have live joiners. Okay, so you can visit the website at fengshuibycandice.com. You can go visit that learnfengshui.com website. I do have a free download on the website. It's where to start with feng shui. Kind of talks a little bit about the tips that I gave you today. You can message me for a free discovery call. I do a free energy mapping of your space, and you can get that free download. So again, if you want any of that information, if you didn't know anything, then please message me. Let me do that. Please just go ahead and send me a message. You can message me on either my email or you can any of my social medias. So I hope you guys have a good weekend. I hope you learned a little bit about your desk placement. If you have any questions, you can message me or ask me below the comments. So y'all have a great weekend, and I'll catch you next month. So next month is going to be feng shui for your kitchen. We're going to talk a little bit about the stove placement, the importance of the kitchen, and it's just going to be an easy beginners workshop. October's flying stars. So if you are interested and you're just curious about flying stars, I'm going to really take it back a little bit and give a very brief, easy explanation of flying stars for October. November, December, and January, we will not have a workshop because I'll be busy and it's the holidays. And so, but you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you guys next month. Go check out that podcast. Follow me on all the social medias, and we'll talk to you later.